Okay, all right. Hey, good day, everyone. Good day, good day, good day. It has been a while, but it is worth the wait. We have Dr. Rosina Bakari with us again, finally. She's got a new book out called Seven Exits, Leaving Behind What No Longer Serves You. Now, just by the title of that, who doesn't need that book? Okay. I'm your queen. I need that book. Okay, so we are going to talk about that book today. How are you, Dr. Bakari?
I am doing well. It's nice to have the team back together again. It's been too long.
Yes, it has. It has. So, you know, I got my book on pre-order, by the way. Okay. And there is a download that's available. Okay. So you all can get that. We will give you the information at the end of this episode. Okay. But there's so much good, juicy stuff in this book. One of the things that I wanted to touch on about that book is the seeds analysis that's in there, the seeds quiz. I took that quiz and it was spot on. It really was. And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm really kind of wary about, because you see these quizzes, all around, and you select your personality type, select the type of career that you want, and you take these quizzes, you're like, what is this? Like, this has absolutely nothing to do with me, right? But I knew it was you, and I'm like, okay. But I still was wary, I ain't gonna lie. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take this quiz. I think it took me over 5 minutes, if that, right, to really take the quiz. And then when I got the results, it was like, oh, yeah, yeah, this is really me. So tell us about the seeds, more into the seeds quiz, how you develop that quiz, what the seeds stands for. Like, give us all of it, and how that quiz can then help us on our journey to make the exits that we need to make.
So, SEEDS, subtle experiences of emotional disempowerment. That's what it stands for. The SEEDS quiz, it's minimal, it's not the whole thing. And so I created it really based on my personal experiences and my work with my clients and my 20 plus years in the mental health field, doing advocacy work and consulting, and put all that together because I thought people needed a simple way to start to engage in this realm of empowerment. So for me, it was about creating an invitation for people to start to understand the conversation of empowerment and where it belongs in well-being. So that's sort of the initiation of it. And so it's just 10 basic questions asking about what your experience has been basically coming into your own empowerment before the age of 18. And so the 10 questions are basic, and it's really to give you an idea so that people can begin to understand why they may struggle with some of the issues that they struggle with, from creating boundaries or setting boundaries and sticking to them, to taking risk, to being creative in the choices that they make. And so based on how empowered we have been trained to be from an early age, we are more or less comfortable in making decisions around our own lives. So many of us hand over our power, willingly or unwillingly, to other people or other systems so that we can be comfortable or feel safe in remaining where we are. Because the whole book is about leaving behind what no longer serves you. And most of these things that we need to leave behind are things that have been poured into us by other people. So when we talk about empowerment, I'm talking about living your life inside out, knowing that you are enough, knowing that you have the tools, knowing that you are lovable, knowing that you get to make mistakes and recover, knowing that you do not have to earn the right to be in this world or earn the right to be any room that you have walked into. And so when we start to build ourselves up on the inside, we'll feel more comfortable knowing and being responsible for the life that we create on the outside.
You know, there's so many things that you said in that. I like what you said about not feeling like you have to earn to be in any room that you walk into, right? Because that you know, and I'm just gonna say this for me. I'm not gonna act like we're talking to folk and I never experienced this before or not going through this now, right? But I think a lot of times that is why I have stayed in things that I knew I needed to leave that job, right? Or I knew I needed to leave out of that relationship. But there's a certain, you know, there's a certain complacency, and we say, well, you know, yeah, we've gotten complacent, but then not examine why was I complacent in the first place? Like, what was the cause of that complacency? And it was that I felt like I had to earn that next step or that next great relationship. Like I needed to earn that, and maybe I didn't deserve that, or maybe I wasn't up to the task of getting that, right? You know, it's that type of thing. So I'm speak to that, please, about how we really just get there about we need to earn whatever it is.
So you mentioned two things. One is this whole idea of earning. And again, if you look at the questions and you look at your final score, it becomes just so instantaneously clear how and why you started to feel that way. Like, oh, because as a child or growing up, or this is actually what I was taught directly or indirectly, that I had to earn the right to. For some people, we had to learn the right to earn the right to simply eat or sleep, right? Because chores were required. And if you didn't do your chores, you weren't getting dinner, or you didn't, or something, getting the grades in school, getting the chores done, being the best at what you can do. All those things are good ideologically in child rearing, but when they are overemphasized, then they become problematic in terms of us growing into a sense of empowerment that is internal. So while those things can help us achieve, they help us achieve externally, sometimes at the cost of minimizing ourselves internally. So that could be problematic. So like the other issue that you brought up on complacency, I like that you did that, because complacency is actually one of the 7 exits that's deeply addressed in the book, because complacency is one of the consequences of continuing to carry this stuff that no longer serves us. When it becomes so overwhelming, we make no attempt to move, right? We stop taking the risk. We give our powers to other, advertently or inadvertently. And so the book 7 X's outlines 7 different rims, I call them, of life that we must leave in order to get where we are going. It does not matter how great your plan is. It doesn't matter how great it is. In order to execute a plan, you must be willing to leave where you currently are. And so many plans don't plan out, not because the plan isn't a great plan, but because the person did not know how to leave where they currently are. So the book 7 Exits is about showing people, explaining first why it's important to leave, and then showing them in practical ways how to leave these 7 areas or 7 rims that trap them inside of a limited life.
You know, I really think, first of all, I'm going to say 2 things. I really think that this book is perfect timing, because as I look around the internet, right, people are now feeling trapped with what is happening, right? And so people are feeling trapped, and they don't even begin to know how they're going to leave, right? Because so many people are losing their jobs. There's so much talk of other people continuing to lose jobs. There's so much talk about what's going to happen with the food supply, this and that. And so It is disempowering. It can be a very disempowering environment, right? Depending on, what's going on with you internally, right? So I would like for you to really talk about that a little bit, but before getting into that conversation, really go back to what it is that empowerment is, because I really think people don't have a really good idea. We've been told empowerment is one thing, but it's really not that thing. So if you can really talk about empowerment, its importance in mental health and emotional health, and how we are able to advance in life. And I'm not even talking about materially or career wise. I'm just talking about in terms of personal development. If you could really get into that and then, segue into the conversation about how we, even in this atmosphere, right, how we can still be empowered and make the exits that we need to make.
Okay, I'll try, because that was a lot. Okay, let me try to simplify empowerment with this analogy. The bigger you are on the inside, the smaller things appear to you on the outside. Mm-hmm. The smaller you are on the inside, the bigger everything on the outside appears to you. So empowerment is about growing our insides, growing our sense of self, growing our sense of discipline, growing our sense of self-love, self-care, self-awareness, self-discipline, self-determination, growing our sense of self so that it becomes big enough so that all the things happening on the outside fit into our sense of self, not the other way around. Without a big sense of self, we end up trying to fit our sense of self into everything happening on the outside. So it's living inside out. Most people live outside in. What's happening out there determines what's happening in here. Empowerment says what's happening out there is determined by what's happening inside here. So we work on inside here. That's empowerment. Working on what's happening in here. Self-awareness is key. Vulnerability, so we can get to the self-awareness, is key. Self-compassion is key. Self-care is key. All those things are essential ingredients of empowerment. It's not about knowing your worth. I mean, that's external surface conversation, right? Is what are you working on in here? It's not knowing your worth, it's knowing your work. Not knowing your work. Oh. When you know your work, you're empowered.
I like that. It's not worth, it's not knowing your worth, it's knowing your work. And let's take what you just said about what empowerment is. How can people now apply that to this current environment, right? This current socio-political environment.
So the first question I like to ask people and myself is this: where does your power lie? I don't care what the problem is. We start with, where does my power lie? Okay, even if I'm a victim in this because someone's coming at me or the system isn't working for me, I have to take inventory of, where does my power lie? For some, the power lies in staying your butt off social media. You don't need to be there. You don't need to watch every single news feed. Why? Because it raises anxiety about things. So where does my power lie? I can stay off social media. I can spend more time in meditation, listening to what the universe, where and how the universe is guiding me. I can commune with people, get in circles where people are talking about positive things. Or I can just keep following the crowd and taking it in and rah, 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 and getting in the fight. How does that empower you? That's external. The solutions are internal. When you get the work right, the external solutions will be way more powerful than then trying to get the fight right. Let go of the fight and do the work. So that's how it applies to what's happening now. There's a lot happening and it's easy to get jarred. The question is, how can you come back to homeostasis? How quickly can you come back to homeostasis? That's going to depend on the work that you've done in here, right? I'm the same way. I open it up, I see, shut it down. I know, because my focus is on what's happening in here. If this has nothing to do with me in this moment, I shut it down and I go back in and I start working with my own sense of power in this. I don't get caught up in every little detail of what's coming at, because it's coming at us fast. It's coming at us fast. And your head will be spinning trying to keep up with it. So the first thing I say is, don't try to keep up with it. Pick when and how you will keep up with it and how much information is relevant to your life. For some people, depending on what realm you're in, it's way relevant, and some people it's not real relevant. And if you look closely, what you'll see is it appears that the people whose life it's most relevant to speak a lot less than there's people whose life is less relevant to, right? And so you get to choose how you engage. So that's the first thing, is consciously choosing how you're going to engage in this and what's your why for engaging in it in this way. And the way that you engage in it must or should feel powerful to you internally, not just externally. Sometimes we can get in people's way who need to do the work because we're so rah, 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 rah. Step back, go within, and then make a strategic move. That's what I say. For those of us who are having immediate personal effects in this, find your support group. Not your fighting group, your support group. Find the group that understands empowerment, not just power, but empowerment. Find the group where you can be fed internally. And so that whatever you need to do externally will come to you with more ease. That's the process that we have to trust, that when we do the internal work, what needs to happen externally will come to us with more ease.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you so much for that, because I like what you said, not the fighting group. Don't find the fighting group. And I think, when I even, at the, well, it used to be what we used to call a water cooler at work. It's still a water cooler, but it's not the water cooler, but all of these conversations, and it is the fighting group. It is everybody just being really upset and just talking about, all the negativity that's happening, right? Or what they perceive as negativity that's happening. And there is no real power in that, because it's like, okay, yeah, that's what's happening, and we know what's happening, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do in this moment? What can we all do, either as individuals or as a collective, to make sure that we still are still on whatever our path is, whatever our journey to self-fulfillment is? So I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I think that is the default, unfortunately, is to find that fighting group, that group of people that agree with me and is going to fight with this other group over here and fight with this other group, instead of, okay, wait a minute, hold up. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What's going to be the solution for you? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that, but I want to get back to something that you said earlier about the whole thing of worth, self-worth, you got to know your worth, but being a superficial, being a superficial topic, so to speak, because we hear a lot of things, but you got to find your worth. And once you know your worth, you can go on. And so to hear someone say, yeah, but that's the that's kind of superficial. For somebody to hear somebody say that, it's like, okay, yeah, we want to take a dive into that. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that worth, of course, worth is important. But when you know your worth, when you really know your worth, it's not a discussion. There's nothing to discuss about it. When you really know your worth, there is nothing to discuss. You don't need to tell people you know your worth. You don't need to remind people you know your worth. Like when you know your worth, you live it inside out. And so to try and have to explain it to people, you may be doing too much, right? When you have to tell me that, then maybe I question if you really understand your worth, right? So when I am clear about who I am and what my expectations of self involved and a direction that I want to take, I do that. I show up and I do that. And when I do that, what you do in response to that is about you. It's not about me. I don't need to have a conversation about my worth and whether or not you see my worth or my value. There's nothing to negotiate. I just do my work. When I've done my internal work, then my external work comes with ease. I'm not getting it because someone doesn't know my worth. Like that's external stuff. They didn't know my worth, so I left. That's external, right? When I know my work, I just make the decisions that align with my worth because I've done my work.
So it's work over worth, because if you do the work, you will get to what your worth is.
Yes.
Yeah, so yes. Work first, then you know the worth. So if you don't know your worth, there's some work you got to do.
Right. Yeah. When you know your work, when you've done your work, your worth is not even the discussion.
So and we all have a lot of work to do. I want to, and this is what I think when I took the seeds, and I just want to I'll share with what happened when I took the seeds, because I think everything that you're talking about, when you do take the seeds, you can see, oh, okay, this is where I need some work, right? If you're not, even if you are aware, because I find sometimes that I am aware of certain things, and I'll get into that later. But yeah, if you're not, or if you're like, dang, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, how we like to say, I'm doing everything right, but this, right. This is still happening. I think this is good. Okay, so I took it, and okay, I had to even put it in Word, right? I was like, oh, I don't want to forget this. And it came up as doubt, right? Doubtful. And it said early lessons may have shaped how you navigate life, influencing your decisions, your relationships, and self-worth. You may struggle to keep commitments to yourself because helping and supporting others feels more important than anything you do for yourself. And that's me to the T. Okay, but I'm going to continue. Okay. However, this pattern leaves you feeling unimportant and underappreciated. Whew. Amen. Okay. And then, and then I could read, I'll read what happens on the 7 exits, right? So 7 exits, leaving behind what no longer serves you, by Dr. Rosina Bakari, helps you break free from this cycle by redefining the balance between self-care and service to others. Right? It guides you to honor your own needs without guilt, reinforcing that your worth is not measured by self-sacrifice. Ooh, who am I talking to out there? Who is this book talking to out there? But by the authenticity with which you live. I'm going to read that sentence again because it's important. It guides you to honor your own needs without guilt, reinforcing that your worth is not measured by self-sacrifice, but by the authenticity with which you live. Through its transformative framework, you'll learn to prioritize yourself in ways that enhance and not diminish your ability to support others, cultivating empowerment that is sustainable, fulfilling, and rooted in self-respect. Now, this thing that the result that I got back, when it says you struggle to keep commitments to yourself because helping and supporting others feels more important than anything you do for yourself, and that this pattern, and that was important, right? This pattern, right, leaves you feeling unimportant and underappreciated. And like I said, amen, 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 and hallelujah to that, because like I said, that was it. that was just really it. I was like, yeah, that's me to the T. And yeah, so if you could speak more to, because a lot of people, and I can't. There was a time where I would just say it's just women, right, that are mostly in this situation. Well, we have been conditioned a lot, right, to you gotta do for others, you gotta do for others. That's your purpose. That's it, to do for others. And how I've heard a lot of women feeling resentful later, even though they won't verbalize it, they feel guilty about verbalizing it, but they really feel resentful. But lately, some men are such, hey, so this is for everybody. Okay, can you really dive into that?
All right, which part?
That whole thing about doing for other people more than we do for ourselves. And how
Right.
that's a pattern. It's not like this one thing, and how that pattern is so disempowering.
Right. And so the higher your score, the more likely that pattern exists. And thank you for emphasizing the word pattern, because please don't get the idea that you should never do more for someone else than you do for yourself. That's not it. I make sacrifices all the time for my family, for work, but I make them from a position of power, not victimization. I make them because I am consistent at filling my cup. And when I fill my cup, it overflows for me to serve others. The challenge is that many of us are trying to do that from an empty cup. And if I could just get people to understand, when you fill your cup, it will overflow. That goes back to the conversation we were just having about work versus worth, right? When you fill your cup, it will overflow. It will overflow. It will overflow. I give so much to people because my cup runneth over, because I have learned to give so much to myself through my running, through my writing, through my community, through my alone time. I spend a lot of time alone, regrouping, centering myself, right? Through my body activities, whether that's through yoga or walking, or so I take really good care. Some people often want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. I go, baby, that is not my problem. I promise you, I am number one in my life. I promise you that. And because I am number one in my life, get this, because I am number one in my life, I can make everybody I love feel like they are number one.
Mm.
Not the other way around. My cup runneth over. So I could say yes to working longer hours. I can say yes to spending time with my husband, even though I got a gazillion things to do. I could say yes to going to a movie with my son when he wants. I could say yes to a friend when they call and say, do I have time? Yes, I have time, because my cup runneth over. And when I start serving people from my overflow, we all benefit. Too many people trying to serve from an empty cup. Got to know the work in order to get to the worth.
Yeah, that's the truth. And a lot of us have been programmed to just keep giving, and not say that one empowering word, which is no. Or I can't do that right now. Let's table this now and revisit it next week or next month or whatever. But I think a lot of us have that expectation. And when I think about giving to others more than we give to ourselves, I think about jobs a lot of times, right? Where a lot of us are given so much at the job, and that's even if you even can't stand the job, right? You even hate the job, but still a lot of us are, and that's the complacency, right? So because we should just move on, right? But right, that's one of the exits we should make. But a lot of us give so much at these jobs, and we have other things that we want to do for ourselves, but we give so much that by the time we get home, we're so fried, we can't even think about doing whatever that thing is for ourselves, right? Or we just
So
want
here,
to
so here, wait,
So
wait,
what,
wait. Let me interrupt. Let me
Okay.
interrupt you for 1 second, because this is really important. This is important. So forgive the interruption,
No
but I
worries.
don't lose this point. The question is why? Why are you giving so much to your job? And the challenge is this: is it that you cannot say no to your job, or is it that you do not know how to say yes to yourself? You must say yes to yourself before you can say no. So your yes to your job means I'm saying yes to my job because I don't know how to say yes to myself. It's not the job. This is what I'm saying. When you understand the work comes. But if I had been taught that saying yes to me is not okay, I don't know how to do that. That's why the seeds is so important. If I had been taught that I'm in this life to earn something, I don't know how to say yes to myself. If I had been taught that my value must be visible and measurable, I don't know how to say yes to walking 3 miles a day. I don't know how to say yes to sacrificing for myself the money to go to the gym as opposed to give to my family, the money that it costs. I don't know how to say yes to myself because no one has ever given me permission to say yes to me.
Thank you. I'm glad I put that up because you are like, wait, no, wait, I gotta interrupt right now. Let's stop it right now. Okay. Yeah, no. Wow. Yeah. That's a lot to take in and own, right? Not to just to hear, but to own it, to say, yeah, I'm not saying yes to myself. Somewhere, somehow, I'm not feeling like I deserve that yes.
Yes, exactly. Because you've never been given permission. When you start saying, this is what I'm saying, it's like the work versus worth. When you start saying yes to yourself, then your no's will come automatically. They'll come automatically. You don't have to practice saying no. You have to practice saying yes to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's that. I'm letting that really, I'm a stew in that. Seriously, I'm going to really stew in that because wow, woo, I think we're going to lead the people with that. What do you think? Any last other words? Because I think everybody needs to just be like, okay, I'm going to sit with that. I'm going to meditate with that. I'm going to contemplate that because, that's real. Because it is easy. It's easy for all of us, right? Me, whoever, to just say it's that. Right. And it's that.
Yes.
And it's that. Or if this person wouldn't do that. Or if this would just happen. Or this one would just act right over here. That it's like, and it's not this. Wait a minute, hold up. Why do you need that? Why do you need all of that to go that way for you to be okay? For me to be okay? Why do I need all of that to happen?
Yep. 7X shows you your work. It shows you your work. So if you're not interested in the work and you just want to focus on your work, don't pick it up. Don't read it. Because it's not about showing you your work, it's about showing you your work. So if you want to know what your work is and you want support in doing that work, this is the book for you. If you want something that's going to affirm your worth, it's not the book for you. But if you want to know your work so that your worth is the life that you live and you never have to profess it again, this is the book for you. So that's one thing. And then the seeds, subtle experiences of emotional disempowerment. You can find that that quiz on my website, rosinabakari.com. And that's a good place to begin while you're waiting for that book to arrive.